Hi, so it's quite an interesting story. So my parents actually met at a psychology honors class back in the 1980s. So I always joke that it's a rite of passage, it was meant to happen. But all jokes aside, when I was 13 years old, my father actually works as an adjunct prof at NUS, and he recommended I tag along for one of his guest lectures on criminal psychology. And when I sat in the lecture theatre and I just observed the students and just took a whiff of just the student culture and the dynamics, it just inspired me to strive for NUS as my dream college. And at the same time, when my brother was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, it inspired me to pursue a career in SPED education, specifically to enhance the strengths of our current system and also to work on the current gaps in the system. So I would say in a nutshell, that's probably it. I would have to say it would be educational psychology, applying psychology to education, because it has always been a lifelong goal of mine to modify the classroom environment to better suit the needs of students with disabilities, both on a primary, secondary, and at the IHL level. So I would say educational psychology, or in NUS is called applying psychology to education, is definitely a field that I am very passionate about and very interested in. And I would say a second field would be child abnormal psychology, as I'm hoping to pursue as an alternative a career of IMH as a child abnormal psychologist specializing in autism, as my younger brother's on autism spectrum, and I hope to support other young people like himself. I would say it was quite a complex journey, as I'm also a USP student, and being a USP student also played a big role in my assimilation to the rigor of university life. Number one, I attended the FASS O week, so that's the orientation camp, and I feel quite wistful thinking about it, as we were the last cohort to experience a full on-site orientation program before they transitioned to an online program. And I think the warmth of just the student cohort, my fellow batchmates, as well as the OGLs and the organizers of the program, I think just made me feel safe in the FASS environment, and I knew that I was in the right place. And secondly, the USP environment, I was assigned to an older psych student in year 3 who just gave me the 101 of NUS psychology with regards to expectations regarding the curriculum and also the profs and how they manage the classroom environment and how to make friends within NUS psychology as well, which was definitely helpful, especially now that I look back. I'm now a mentor myself, and I think it played a huge role in inculcating a sense of belonging to the NUS community. And it definitely helped that all my roommates in USP, because it's a residential program, were also from FASS. So it kind of created a bond between us when we all got to study together and got to tap in on each other's energy, and also just get to explore FASS not only as batchmates but also as friends. I would say my lifelong goal would be to be a global leader for autism, and perhaps be the youngest and also one of the few autism experts in Singapore. And in achieving that goal, I hope to pursue a career as an ABA therapist or an autism therapist in Singapore, either with a special needs school or as an allied educator with MOE, because currently I am one of the youngest public advocates for autism in Singapore. As an older sister to my brother on autism spectrum, I've been collaborating with a few NGOs in raising awareness regarding the struggles faced by autism families in Singapore. So I would say that is definitely what I plan to do post-graduation, and also I hope to pioneer some initiatives in inclusive education, perhaps pursue a master's in educational psychology, and perhaps make some modifications to the current classroom environment, both at the IHL level and also at the primary and secondary level, to better accommodate the needs of students with disabilities across Singapore. I would say psychology is very powerful as a major. I would say, all majors have their strengths and their perks, but I say psychology is particularly powerful in its how dynamic it is. There are no limitations with regards to what you can pursue. According to my seniors, some pursue careers in media, some pursue careers in education, and some pursue careers even in STEM and more the healthcare sector and dealing with dynamics within a more scientific environment. So I would say number one is a professional degree, so it's consistent with international standards. It's a direct stepping stone towards a career as a psychologist, but at the same time, it allows you to explore many different career fields, because ultimately psychology is about understanding people and group dynamics, and I think that is indispensable trait in today's world. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm actually a USP FASS student, so with USP I got a direct opportunity to experience an interdisciplinary education before CHS modified its curriculum. So I would say it definitely contributes to the dynamism of the classroom and also the dynamism of your worldview, and it gives you not only the depth of perspective but the breadth of perspective. So I would say a really great experience I had of interdisciplinary education would be a module that I took with USP called Writing a Science Play. So it was writing a play, which is a very artistic medium about a scientific concern, which is a bit more linear and absolute in nature. And I had really fond memories because I remembered in my classroom, there will be somebody on my left from computer science and somebody on my right from media and comms, somebody from physics, somebody from theatre, a very, very motley crew of students. And the best part was really getting to work with them and just really bouncing off their knowledge and their ideas. So for example, my classmate from computer science wrote a play about time travel and altering memories. So although he could tap on his personal knowledge about computer science regarding the part of the right terminology when it comes to his characters talking to each other, he actually tapped on my knowledge regarding short-term and long-term memory from psychology to complement his technical knowledge. And we had, I think, a really great time just bouncing off each other's energy and also just exchanging our worldviews based on our field of study. And that was a very fulfilling and enriching experience academically and intellectually, and also in terms of socially, because you form lifelong friends. At the same time, in the workforce, I feel that so many of our current concerns are very multifaceted, and it requires people from different fields to work with one another. So for example, back in my parents' time, let's say if an issue with IT, you got somebody from a STEM background to handle it. And if you had a human concern, concern regarding human beings, you got somebody from a sociological or a psychological background to handle it. And nowadays, we have really complex, multifaceted concerns. For example, how AIs can address human concerns such as poverty and inequality. And with that, you need somebody from perhaps a computer science background to execute that code, but also somebody from a sociology or social work background to give their 2 cents about the complexities of poverty and human issues. So I'll definitely say that dynamism that interdisciplinary education gives you is definitely helpful in addressing 21st century issues. That's really interesting. I think in the past 1.5 years, it's been a bit challenging because of the pandemic. All my classes were moved online. And the only time I had a face-to-face campus experience was in year 1, Sem 1. But I would have to say I'm currently working with the Dean of Student Affairs, Prof. Ho Han Kiat, who is a USP prof, a Dean of Student Affairs, and also a pharmacy prof. Are currently working on a research project with a fellow USP psychology major regarding how we can make the class participation component, which is a compulsory component that is not only very prevalent in FASS, but also across the NUS campus, and how we can make that more inclusive towards students with mental health conditions and students with disabilities, because it's something that has been around since my parents' time, and also it's a big assessment component now, but so many students struggle with it, and there haven't been any recent modifications despite a more diverse student cohort entering FASS each year. So we started that project about a semester ago, and we are working towards finishing it in April of 2022, and that's something I'm really excited for the student cohort to see.